The first thing on the list is an announcement that just came out without any real information, and that's out this year on 4K Ultra HD from Kino Lorber, is Usual Suspects. These more recent 4K releases that they've done, I think they've chosen some pretty good ones. Sometimes they were kind of plucking right out of Criterion's basket.
I feel like Kino, they're really taking 4K seriously.
I agree.
They're really pushing them out, which is awesome. As long as the transfers are good, that's great.
I've only read about like one, and we talked about The Silence of the Lambs. That was one that was a little bit of a miss for them. Not only was like some color timing off, but I think some audio was maybe messed up too, and they weren't doing like any disc replacement. So some people gave them shit for that.
Sounds charming.
I've actually never upgraded this other than to blue. I've only ever had this on DVD. I actually have it here. This was a really awesome special edition DVD that had come out back when, studios still cared. There was a ton of special features on here, a lot of really awesome, like in-depth stuff about the movie, the writing of the movie. Everyone was here talking about it. It was really awesome. And it has one of those slipcases on it that Best Buy has just recently started to do for their steels, where when you take it off, it's like the original art. But when you put the slip on, it kind of gives it like a whole other sort of look, which I always kind of liked. The only information that they have at the moment is that it is going to have the Dolby Vision and that it's being sourced from the original camera negative.
Bryan Singer's movies always look drab anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but when
this
you look
made
at
X-Men movies that were blue and gray.
He did.
It's like the most colorful comic books. Like
It's true.
characters, and it's just all blue and gray.
But I wonder if they're going to do some revitalization like they did with Misery. Because remember when we looked at those screenshots, there was that same like blue sheen on everything, but all of a sudden it looked like it got wiped away, and skin tones were natural, the snow was natural, everything was back to how it should have been. Maybe they'll do that here.
I trust Rob Reiner more than I do Bryan Singer around my kids.
It's
How
cool
does
that
he
they're
keep escaping that shit?
Dude, I don't know.
Has Bryan Singer ever been charged with anything?
He nearly directed Bohemian Rhapsody before he got thrown off of it, and that was 2018.
It's because
This movie, however, I am really excited about. You've seen this movie, right?
I wasn't that impressed.
you're stupid.
I think it's a great script, and I think the cast has great chemistry. That's it. I don't think Bryan Singer, even back then, but when everyone was championing Bryan Singer, I always thought it was The Emperor Has No Clothes. Everything he's done that I've seen is drab. He made a Superman movie boring.
I played Superman. I was told by my, representatives and everyone, they thought it was going to be a big deal, right? And then I wasn't getting offers. I had to audition for things, and there were things that came very close that they were in production and it didn't happen. A couple other things that just didn't happen.
I'm like listening to you. It's funny.
I've never attempted the X-Men movies because they looked so goddamn boring. This, in another filmmaker's hands, I think could have been even bigger. It's just visually, it's nothing. And it's a great script.
Oh boy.
And as far as like Bryan Singer's concerned, this is probably one of those scenarios where this is the guy's only notable and probably great movie, except for X-Men and X-Men 2, and I wouldn't call those great, but people look to those as like kicking off the superhero franchises, and this is the X-Men group that everyone wanted to see, and it was like, oh, this is the definitive one. It's not like trash. Like people got behind it, especially the second one.
I never bought into him. But even this movie, as you just said, this is his classic. This is not a classic because of the direction. This is not a classic because of Bryan Singer. It's a classic because of the twist. It was a sharp script, and it's a classic because of the cast.
That guy is tense.
When you hear the title Usual Suspects, the first thing you think of is that improvised scene when they're the cover of the movie, when they're in the lineup and Benicio del Toro's talking his shit and all that. That's what you think of.
I disagree.
And this is his best movie. You're right.
It is definitely
easily his best movie.
His best and the movie he's known for, nothing else, even though he went on to direct until like recently.
Anybody could have directed this, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I can't, maybe you're right in that regard. I don't know necessarily what he himself is bringing when you look at everything else he's ever done and look at it and like, these movies aren't that great. So like when you look in hindsight.
But what's great about Usual Suspects?
Well, obviously the script is really good, but
not him.
Someone needed to be there directing what is going on. And I feel like
honestly,
it's hard to say.
It's a step above for what did this come out? 95, 96? It's a step above what television movies were at that time.
I'm basically agreeing with you is that I am. It's like, I don't know what he necessarily is bringing when you look at his further catalog where you're like, all these movies are terrible. So what is it that he brought to Usual Suspects? Obviously something, but you're right. The script is what it is, but I disagree in the sense that I feel like the twist in a way does this movie a disservice because I think that this movie is strong with including the twist, but all people think about is the twist. And I feel like you should look at this movie as it's a great caper film. The acting is great. The chemistry is great. The movie is super engaging. Like all of it is a really awesome movie. And then boom, there's a twist that is cool. It makes sense. It fits. It like really kind of wraps everything up in a nice package for this movie, not just like a throwaway twist like some other movies may have. So at the end of the day, that movie is a solid package, but people were like, oh, that twist is so mind-blowing. Have you seen that movie? Oh, wait till you see the twist. They did that with The Mist. They put that literally on the box. It's like, I want this movie to be good. And I feel like the movie is good, including the twist, but I feel like people put too much on the twist.
I think the movie puts too much on the twist.
What's your fucking problem, man?
It's overrated.
And
you take that twist out of the movie, it's a generic television movie.
You know what's crazy about that too is, and this is what is on
with
some of the
great
special
acting,
features.
great performances.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Performances are awesome. And you're right. A lot of it was ad-libbed. All the Benicio del Toro stuff ad-libbed. Half the time when they're like, what did he say?
I can't understand him.
They're really asking, what did he say? Kevin
yeah.
Pollak and Stephen Baldwin, Billy Baldwin, Brian Baldwin, Adam Baldwin.
The Baldwins.
They literally did not like each other. And there's several times in the movie where they're like face to
nobody
face.
likes Stephen Baldwin.
Right, but you could tell there's like an animosity there that is real. So like you're right. Like the movie itself is good. In the DVD, Christopher McQuarrie is there and he's talking about how he wrote this ending, he wrote this twist, but they had no idea how to show it. Like they didn't know how.
Neither did Bryan Singer.
What's your fucking problem, man?
And how do you present that other than how they did it, which was like a montage? It's like, remember when this guy said this? Remember when he looked at that? Remember? And that's how he was like, this is how we basically cracked the code of showing this twist ending. And what's funny is they're kind of, I could be wrong, but I think that might have been the first time when a twist was revealed that a montage was shown to like really hit it home that this was a twist that you just saw. Because you think about Sixth Sense, which came in 99 after, they do the same thing. And other twists that have happened in other movies show montages to remind you of all of these elements that, ta-da, like we did it.
I don't get it.
Which proves my point that the movie's weak and it relies on the twist.
I don't agree that it solely relies on the twist.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It can, like, the movie can exist without the twist. Nobody would have talked about it. It would have just been, it would have just existed.
What's the thing? It's a mystery caper. The whole time there's someone that's pulling the strings and you don't know who it is. They have to reveal that at some point. And the fact that it's someone that's telling the story is like, oh, it's not one character that we know about. It's this guy that was telling the story the whole time.
Yes.
That makes it a cool twist. But I don't think that the movie relies on the twist.
Not only did you just describe the twist, you described the plot. It's a great small film. It's kind of like Reservoir Dogs in that sense, where it relies on the twist. It's like, how do you take something with a low budget and make it interesting? And that's kind of what I always thought they did. I just don't think Bryan Singer pulled it off visually to make it that interesting. When you take, in my opinion, the mediocre production that feels like a Lifetime movie to me in parts, all you have is great performances and a great script and twist.
I don't know. This is bad.
That makes a pretty good movie. I'm not shitting on this movie saying it's terrible. It's just overrated. And yes, it relies on that twist. The Sixth Sense could work as a drama without the twist. They're both in the same boat. But to answer your question, I would say The Sixth Sense works as a movie without the twist, and Usual Suspects doesn't. If you took the twist out of Usual Suspects, it would be a direct-to-video Bruce Willis movie.
I like that.
The Sixth Sense is it's a surprise that he is dead. Whereas in Usual Suspects, you're waiting to find out who is this person at the end. So you're waiting for something no matter what.
But The Sixth Sense is a family drama.
Sure.
There's nothing going on here besides
it's a caper
film, yes.
Which is good.
Dude.
When was the last time you saw this movie on VHS when I handed it to you?
Yeah,
I feel
20
like
some years ago.
I feel like you're like really thinking on this movie, maybe not as finely as you should.
Like, I've never thought about The Usual Suspects.
Never in your life.
This is a big movie. It won fucking Oscars. I mean, come on now. I
have
an
a great
opinion
film
just from seeing once.
Because it's a great film. One of those bald ones did an interview for this movie, and Kevin Pollak too. And they mentioned, as you know, they start asking him about Kevin Spacey, obviously, like, oh, what was it like working with him now that all this crazy shit's come out about him? And they admitted that for 2 days, this whole production got shut down because there was some inappropriate stuff going on with Kevin Spacey and a young actor that was there. And the young actor turned out to be Bryan Singer's like then boyfriend. But this shit was even going on like back then.
You got him all wrong.
You ever watch that one documentary? Bryan Singer put together a whole network. This was like when the internet first started in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
That was basically set up to cast young men and put them in these shows, promising them they're going to be stars and all that.
Thought it was going to be a big deal, right?
Yeah.
When it was just one big fucking, hey, let's
orgy?
basically.
Allegedly.
Let's see what you guys will do for this.
Allegedly. Don't come and get us, Bryan Singer. We love Usual Suspects, Brian. Well, I don't know if you guys are excited. Russ is clearly not. This movie is, regardless of if you love it for the twist, if you love it for the movie, if you love it for the acting, regardless.
It's just overrated.
It's just overrated. This overrated film will be coming out sometime this year from Kino. I'm going to have my eye on it. I'll definitely be picking this up when it comes out. And I guess Russ will not be. But when I get it, I will share what a great time I had with it all over again. And Russ can keep remembering about the VHS he watched 20 years ago to form his now solid opinion.
Did I ever give that VHS back to you?
Probably not, dude. That doesn't even sound familiar to me.